Have you ever heard about the term biosecurity? Do you know why is it important? We're going to be discussing that today. Hi, my name is Dr. Juan Piñeiro, and I'm an extension dairy specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife. And today I'm going to be interviewing.
Hey, howdy y'all. I'm Dee Ellis. I'm a veterinarian, and my background includes mixed practice, some regulatory work as the state veterinarian for Texas, and now I'm here also on behalf of Texas A&M AgriLife, and we're going to talk about biosecurity.
So Dr. Dee, what is biosecurity?
Well, biosecurity is a process where, in this case, the dairy farmer can implement some practices that will help protect themselves and their cattle from the introduction of disease, and also the spread of disease inside the dairy. And when they do that right, it helps with the quality of their milk, the general animal health of their cattle, which leads to less use of antibiotics and a less economic loss. At the end of the day, just provides a safe and secure food supply for America.
Could you please give us some examples of diseases dairy farmers want to keep out of their herd?
Well, there's all kinds of diseases out there, and the germs of viruses, bacteria, different organisms that can be introduced into a dairy that can cause a problem. You know, we're talking things like salmonella, Staph aureus. The newest one on the block is the viral disease H5N1 for dairy cattle that has a link back to birds usually. And so there's a whole world of threats out there, and biosecurity helps protect from all of those things.
Dr. Ellis, could you please explain what are zoonotic diseases?
Well, zoonotic diseases are any type of disease that can go from people to animals or animal to people, and in some cases both ways simultaneously. In the dairy setting, you know, the dairyman has a lot to think about in protecting not only the people from the cattle, but the cattle from the people. And it basically boils down to cleanliness and wearing protective gear to keep manure and animal fluids off of the humans and vice versa. And so cleanliness at the parlor, cleanliness out in the barns, cleanliness at every step of the way, including PPE equipment such as coveralls and boots and gloves are all part of a bigger equation to make sure that the risk of a zoonotic transmission is minimized.
What is PPE and why is it important?
Well, PPE stands for personal protective equipment, and it's actually more than just equipment. It's also clothing, and we have some examples here. And this is not only part of a biosecurity protocol, but also biosafety, which is a word that means that you're protecting the workers from each other and from the animals within the dairy, not just coming in from the outside. And so we have here, for examples, coveralls, and you know they want to be clean. You know, you don't want to be wearing dirty coveralls, which means the workers need enough to go home and have them washed, or in a lot of dairies they'll wash them for the folks. Aprons, milking, the aprons are on top of the coveralls. You've got the OB sleeves that often they wear, as well as disposable gloves. As we've said before, if you have a concern about a zoonotic situation in the dairy, they may want to consider protective eyewear or even a mask. Obviously, rubber boots and disposable boots, especially for visitors. If you have folks coming in to do work on your dairy, at least give them some disposable boots to make sure there's no their feet are not carrying a germ in on their shoes.
So the milking parlor is the heart of the dairy. Could you please expand a little bit more about biosecurity practices in the milking parlor?
Well, as you said, the most important part of being in the dairy business is having good quality milk, and that starts with cleanliness and starts at the milking parlor. From the type of clothing the workers are wearing, obviously clean boots, you know, any kind of aprons, gloves, to the equipment themselves. Obviously, now we've had some changes in the equipment. We're using robots now more and more. And so whether it's a robot cleaning the teats or it's a human cleaning the teats, they need to do it properly, do it thoroughly, be using the right kinds of disinfectants, and basically making sure that the cows are clean, the equipment's clean, and the people are clean. And if that's the case, then they're protected and the cows are protected. That's all part of good biosecurity.
And what role does segregation of sick animals and milking order plays in biosecurity?
Well, one of the basic tenets of biosecurity in any situation is you take care of your healthy animals first and your sick animals last, and that way you're not carrying germs from a sick animal to a healthy animal, whether you're feeding them, caring for them, or in this case milking them.
Could you please provide some practical suggestions to increase biosecurity for dairy farmers, dairy farm personnel, or like us that we're visitors today and we're wearing covered booties?
Well, when you talk about visitors, there's the place to start right there, is just keeping up with who's coming on your premises. You know, you have a dairy, for example, has lots of visitors, from veterinarians to folks working on the equipment to just interested neighbors to their workers themselves. So tracking movements not only of the animals coming and going, but humans as well, is a great start. When you talk about the cattle, you know, you've got baby calves leaving, you've got old cows leaving, you've got young heifers coming back to have their calf and start to milk. And so it's a complicated mix of threats and risks that are only best covered when you're keeping good records. And starting right there with your workers, you know, simple things like, are they washing their hands and are they wearing clean clothes, are also important. And finally, evaluating the movement on and off of such things as feeds, where's the milk truck coming to, who's loading the milk and unloading the milk, what's the best practice to minimize risk of the introduction of any type of threat, such as a chemical or a germ, is what it's all about. And it's different for every dairy, but you have to start somewhere. I'd start with evaluating human movements and cattle movements.
Knowledge, Dr. Ellis, that was really insightful. And thank you all for joining us and learning about biosecurity. If you have some further questions, please visit animalscience.tamu.edu, and we'll see you next time.